Today headlines for this hour on VTV News. State President's activities in Beijing, China. Vietnam and Saudi Arabia promote trade and investment cooperation. In the world news, tensions escalate in the Middle East.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. Vietnamese State President Võ Văn Thưởng met with the General Secretary of the Laos People's Revolutionary Party and President of Laos Thongloun Sisoulith on October 19th during the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing, China. State President Thongloun Sisoulith expressed the sentiments that Laos highly values its relationship with Vietnam and is committed to nurturing and strengthening the friendship, solidarities, and comprehensive cooperation between the two countries. He also pledged to contribute to enhancing the ties between the two parties and states. Also on the same day, State President Võ Văn Thưởng had meetings with leaders of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, and a number of large Chinese corporations. More to follow.
Receiving Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank Jin Lee Chun, State President Võ Văn Thưởng requested the bank to actively coordinate to support members and localities that are still facing difficulties and have great needs for capital and technology to promote infrastructure development in Asia. Receiving Chairman of Huawei Group Liang Hua, State President Võ Văn Thưởng highly appreciated the achievements that Huawei achieved during its investment in Vietnam and wished to have more and more businesses to cooperate with Vietnam. Huawei's Chairman Liang Hua expresses his desire to fully support Vietnam's digital economic development, energy transition, and training of digital human resources. Receiving Chairman of the Board of Directors ZTE Group, Lee Ji-sue, State President Võ Văn Thưởng emphasized the call for national-level cooperation between governments and enterprises. The ZTE leader also affirmed their readiness to support Vietnam in developing the network and digital infrastructure system structure to promote economic development.
Earlier the same day, State President Võ Văn Thưởng visited a model of new-style rural area in Xiaoludian village in Heng Guangzhou Township in Chaoyang District, which is about 20 kilometers from Beijing downtown. The village is famous for the traditional professions of ornamental fish farming. Here, historical events and milestones in the development process of the party and the countries are thoroughly communicated to each household in many vivid forms, focusing on building the party to promote rural development and enhance local people's lives. The state president talked about the local authorities' method to mobilize human resources to build public infrastructures and transportation. State President Võ Văn Thưởng held a meeting with officials and staff members of Vietnamese representative agencies in China on October 19th as part of his trip to attend the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing. The Vietnamese state leader stated that, along with realizing the common perceptions reached by leaders of the two parties and countries during the party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng visit to China last October, it also aims to affirm Vietnam's support to initiatives benefiting peace, cooperation, and development in the regions and the world. Informing the participants about the domestic socio-economic situation recently, State President Võ Văn Thưởng said that the party and state consistently pursues a foreign policy of being a friend, trustworthy partner, and responsible member of the international community. On the foundations of national interest, Vietnam is willing to set up diplomatic relations, cooperate closely, and expand partnership with all countries on the principle of equality, fairness, ensuring national independence, territorial integrity, and respect for international law, for peace and development in the regions and the world. State President also underscored the significance of the Chinese market to different sectors of Vietnam, especially agricultural products, and asked the agencies to pay attention to maintaining, expanding, and developing the market. On Thursday afternoon, local time, within the framework of his visit to Saudi Arabia, Prime Minister Phie received the Saudi Arabia Minister of Economy and Planning, Faisal bin Fahim Al Ibrahim, and Saudi Arabia Ministry of Human Resources and Social Development, Ahmad bin Sulaiman Arahi.
Receiving the Saudi Arabia's Minister of Economy and Planning, Prime Minister Phie congratulated Saudi Arabia on its great achievements in diversifying and developing non-oil economic sectors and applying science and technology, prioritizing sustainable green development. The Prime Minister proposed that the two economies strengthen connectivity and promote trade and investment cooperation, with priority given to the fields of energy, finance and banking, production and processing of halal products, and digital transformation. The Minister of Economy and Planning of Saudi Arabia highly appreciated Vietnam's achievements in economic management and development, emphasizing that the two countries can take advantage of each other's markets as a gateway to expand exports to other markets in the region.
Receiving Saudi Arabia's Minister of Human Resources and Social Development, the Vietnamese Prime Minister proposed that the two sides increase exchanges between labor management agencies and promote cooperation in training and enhance the completion of the legal framework for labor cooperation to support each other in supplementing quality human resources. Saudi Arabia's Minister of Human Resources and Social Development greatly valued Prime Minister Phie visit to Saudi Arabia, saying Saudi Arabia plans to receive an additional 10 million foreign workers in the coming time. The minister highly appreciated the quality of the Vietnamese workforce and expressed his wish that the two sides would coordinate and soon resolve current difficulties in labor cooperation to bring more Vietnamese workers to Saudi Arabia, especially highly skilled workers.
Within the framework of his visit to Saudi Arabia on Thursday morning local time, Prime Minister Phie attended the Vietnam-Saudi Arabia Business Forum. The Prime Minister pointed to substantial potential for Vietnam and Saudi Arabia to foster cooperation.
Saudi Arabia is currently Vietnam's leading trade partner in the Middle East, with two-way turnover in 2022 reaching nearly $3 billion, an increase of more than 32% compared to 2021. Some large Saudi corporations have invested in Vietnam in the fields of real estate, energy, and industry. The president of the Federation of Saudi Chambers highly valued the increasingly improved investment and business environment in Vietnam, expressing their desire to further promote trade and investment cooperation in Vietnam. Speaking to the business communities of the two countries, Prime Minister Phie emphasized that Vietnam continues to promote the prevention and fight against corruption and negativity to create a healthy and equal investment and business environment.
Doing business may be difficult sometimes. These difficulties are subjective. For example, the recent COVID-19 pandemic is a subjective one that no one could have predicted. But the important thing is that we accompany each other and share difficulties. We often commit to investors that benefits are harmonious, risks are shared. And another very important commitment is to maintain independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, political stability, social order, and safety so that investors can be safe in terms of property and other activities according to the Constitution and law.
The Prime Minister then received the President of the Federation of Saudi Chambers and witnessed the signing of several memorandums of cooperation between federations and businesses of the two countries. The Prime Minister's activities have received great attention from media agencies in the Middle East.
Prime Minister Phie met with leaders of major groups from Saudi Arabia and the Persian Gulf in Riyadh as part of his trip to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Gulf Cooperation Councils or ASEAN GCC summit and visit the host country. During the meetings, the Prime Minister emphasized the strong developments between Vietnam and Gulf countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, as a solid foundation for expanding cooperation between the two sides' businesses. Leaders from Zamil Lulu and Ijan Ambrose expressed the appreciation for Vietnam's business and investment environment, highlighting the government's effort in supporting enterprises to overcome challenges and difficulties. The Prime Minister also affirmed Vietnam's commitments to creating favorable conditions and establishing a safe, transparent, and highly competitive business and investment environment. Coming up next on VTV News, Vietnam's public debt to GDP ratio declined. And Belgium provides huge support for Agent Orange victims in Vietnam. Welcome back to VTV News. In the context of many countries having their credit ratings downgraded, Vietnam's rating has been upgraded by two international credit organizations, Moody's and S&P. One of the main reasons for this is because Vietnam has done a good job in managing public debt by gradually reducing it.
By the end of 2022, Vietnam's public debt was equivalent to 37.4% of GDP, while its foreign debt was about 36.1% of GDP. Not only are these debts much lower than the prescribed threshold, but they have also been decreasing over the years.
This is one of the bright spots in state budget management as well as public debt management. Therefore, international rating agencies place high value on Vietnam's credit rating.
Public debt to GDP number is about 38%, while the stipulated target that the government has set for itself is in the 60% range. So there is a significant amount of fiscal headroom that the government can deploy.
Vietnam's foreign debt is decreasing not only in proportion to GDP, but also in absolute terms. Specifically, from the peak of $48 billion in 2020, it decreased to nearly $39 billion at the end of last year, a decrease of over $9 billion.
Clearly, this is the right direction. That means we are maximizing key sectors to bolster the internal strength of the economy without being dependent on external capital sources.
Cut on VAT that is about to be implemented, and I would suggest that the government expedites the rollout of this VAT cut and also extends the tenor of the VAT cut right up to the end of 2024.
According to the World Bank's assessment, Vietnam has made significant reforms in public debt management. Vietnam was advised to continue improving the efficiency of public debt management and the effectiveness of disbursement of public investment and ODA capital.
The fourth on-site inspection of the European Commission's EC on combating illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, referred to as IUU, had just ended. As a result of the actual inspection in Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu and Bình Định provinces, the European Commission delegation continued to recognize and appreciate Vietnam's effort and the directions of the government and the prime ministers. However, more changes are needed to remove the yellow card imposed on Vietnam seafood in 2017 over illegal, unreported, and unregulated IUU fishings, and we still have to wait until the result of the next inspection. Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development recommends that in the next 6 months, Vietnam needs to continue to show greater efforts not only in fleet management and law enforcement, but also in managing the type and quantity of imported seafood to prevent countries from being able to commit IUU violations. Despite more than 2 days of searching, the 13 missing fishermen from 2 boats that sank in rough waters off the Cheongsa Spratly Islands have still not been located. A total of 78 fishermen, along with the bodies of 2 fishermen who were retrieved earlier by another fishing boat, have been brought back to the mainland.
Currently, there are 3 ships involved in the search for missing fishermen. This includes 1 Coast Guard ship and 2 naval ships. One of the ships has been utilized to transport 78 fishermen and 2 bodies back to the shore. Earlier this morning, Naval Ship 467 successfully boarded 78 fishermen, 2 bodies, and 3 additional fishermen who were fishing offshore.
I really want to return to the mainland soon. I also hope that the authorities will rescue and search for other missing fishermen as soon as possible.
Weather conditions in the sea area are expected to be favorable for bringing fishermen to the mainland, as well as for rescue and search operations.
We will certainly bring the fishermen back to the mainland as planned. Please remain calm and take care of your health. If you encounter any difficulties during the journey, please feel free to inform the staff.
The travel speed is carefully calculated to ensure safety during the journey to the mainland. It is estimated to take approximately 30 hours to bring the fishermen back to the shore. 4 additional fishing boats have been mobilized to assist in the rescue and search efforts. The search area will be expanded based on the calculation of drifts over time following the accident.
In recent years, Agent Orange victims in Vietnam have received huge support from countries around the world, including Belgium. The country's government and its citizens have made joint efforts and implemented various programs and activities to support Vietnamese people living with Agent Orange-related health problems and disabilities.
The Belgian Chamber of Representatives recently approved a resolution in support of victims of Agent Orange in Vietnam with absolute vote. Belgian federal parliamentarian André Phie hoped that it would be great support for Vietnamese victims and inspired other countries.
The Belgian Federal Parliament has become the world's first legislature to approve a resolution supporting Agent Orange victims in Vietnam. Belgian parliamentarians are working with the European Parliament, the European Council and many international organizations. We'll urge them to join hands in supporting Vietnam.
Despite declarations and agreements, the consequences of Agent Orange in the country have remained unresolved. The Belgian Chamber of Representatives move is expected to help Vietnam overcome the consequences of war. Various activities were held to support Agent Orange victims in Vietnam, such as an annual golf tournament held in Genap town of Belgium to raise funds for Agent Orange victims in Hoi An City. Through these activities, Belgian people have gained an insight into the loss and sufferings of the Vietnamese people after the war.
We cannot miss this important disaster for the people, for the Vietnamese people, for the environment, Vietnamese environment.
I find that very important for the rest of the world to know what happened and to continue to ask America to assume his responsibility.
Kindness acts of the Belgian Federal Parliament and Belgian citizens have contributed to tightening the friendship and solidarity between Vietnam and Belgium.
The high water season in the Mekong River usually occurs from mid-August to November. This is the best time for visitors to explore both the natural beauties and daily lives of local farmers in the Mekong Delta regions. Join us in a trip to Hồng Ngự District, Đồng Tháp Province, to discover how local people here make a living during this period.
As the high water season adds a large volume of water to the Mekong Delta region, this is the best time for local farmers to earn money by catching fish. farmers can catch dozens of kilograms of black collie loach per day. They've used various types of nets to catch fish.
Black collie loach only thrive in ideal locations, so I have to choose the in the waters to land a big catch.
Using nets to chase fish is one of the most popular ways to catch freshwater fish. Instead of throwing a cast net, farmers use a tree trunk to hit the water surface. This way, the noise will scare the fish and get them stuck in fishing nets around. Farmers can have a big catch after 5 to 10 minutes without setting their nets overnight or using bait.
I can catch a lot of fish when it's windy. Sometimes I catch tens of kilograms of freshwater fish. Various types of fish got stuck in my nets, but not the small ones.
In the high water season, farmers also catch moina, a type of freshwater zooplankton that can also be used as a live food source for feeding small fish. They call moina the gift from God, as moina only grows during the flooding season.
Moina emerge with the largest number early in the early morning.
The number of moina in this field is much larger than other fields. We chase and catch moina by observing the color of the water area.
The high water season is one of the blessings of local farmers as they hope for a better life with big catches and higher income. Their happiness brightens the region, making the local landscape more lively than ever.
Coming up next in our One News, tensions escalate in the Middle East. And the United States unveils new sanctions on Iran. As the ongoing conflicts in Gaza enter its 14th day, more than 4,900 people have been killed so far. Horrific videos and images have spread on social media, leading to a wave of protests around the world. Humanitarians express deep concern for the civilians in the Gaza Strip, while many countries fear that the Israel-Hamas conflict would cause broader unrest in the Middle East.
According to the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, the risk of an expansion of the Israel-Hamas conflict is very real and extremely dangerous.
I fear that we are at the brink of a deep and dangerous abyss that could change the trajectory of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if not of the Middle East as a whole.
European Union interior ministers met on Thursday to discuss how to manage the impact of the conflict between Israel and Hamas on the bloc.
This council is very important because it happens at the moment where we have to address multiple impacts from the continuing crisis in the Middle East. And part of this is, of course, to carefully assess all possible consequences for us in the European Union. This entails the protection of our Jewish communities, but also a protection against the generalized climate of Islamophobia that has no place in our society.
The ongoing conflict in Gaza has killed more than 4,900 people on both sides since it began on October 7th. An airstrike on Al-Ali Al-Arabi Hospital in Gaza City on Tuesday killed nearly 500 people. The international community has strongly condemned the attack. A series of low-level skirmishes have occurred at the Lebanon-Israel border. There are fears that the Hamas-Israel conflict will spread if tensions between Hezbollah and Israeli forces escalate.
The Biden administration on Wednesday unveiled new sanctions targeting Iran's ballistic missiles and drone programs. The U.S. Treasury Department said it was imposing the sanctions on 11 individuals and 8 entities that are enabling Iran's destabilizing ballistic missiles and unmanned aerial vehicle UAV programs. The U.S. move came as the United Nations restrictions on Iran missiles-related activities under a Security Council resolutions are slated to expire. Passed by the UN Security Council in 2015, Resolution 2231 endorsed the Iran nuclear agreement, also known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. The nuclear deal laid the groundwork for the Security Councils to lift sanctions on Iran as Tehran pledged not to seek or develop any nuclear weapons. Iran confirmed on Wednesday that any actions aiming to impose sanctions or restrictions on Iran's defense interactions is in contradiction with the terminations of the restrictions under Resolution 2231. Russia-North Korea relations have reached a new and strategic level, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday. The Russian Foreign Minister flew to Pyongyang on Wednesday for a two-day trip. His visit came a month after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un made a rare trip to Russia in September. During his visit, Minister Sergei Lavrov met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. At a meeting with North Korean Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui, Minister Sergei Lavrov affirmed that relations between the two countries extended to a qualitatively new strategic level after the landmark summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on September 13. According to the North Korean Foreign Minister, frequent meetings between the two countries' foreign ministers demonstrate that North Korean-Russian bilateral relations are further strengthened. Italy on Wednesday temporarily suspended the European Union's Schengen rules for open travel, reactivating dormant border controls with Slovenia amid rising tensions in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. On the border between Italy and Slovenia, controls will begin on October 21st and last for at least 10 days. As of late Wednesday, some other European Union states announced similar moves due to concerns over extremist violence and migration. The Italian government said the goal is to rapid return to control-free border crossings, but the measures could nevertheless be extended. And now let's continue with the weather forecast. That's it for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.